afternoon for our real estate committee meeting. We have one presentation, and then we actually have some more information regarding some roofing information and closed board up data. In addition to that, we'll also just kind of speak just briefly around our next Prop S Oversight Committee meeting, and other agenda items include support letter for the Great Rivers Greenway space on the Hodemont tracks, and updates regarding the Marshall School and any other LCRA updates. So at this point in time, we'll begin with our presentation from Navigate that will provide a construction update for our construction projects, including Proposition S. And we'll turn it over to Mr. Jaquez and Ms. Miller. We do.
Thank you, Chief Watson, and to Dr. Scarlett and members of the board and SLPS leaders. Good afternoon. It's good to be here, and it's good to be able to be here. As I was sitting down, I start reminiscing over one of the quotes that I learned while at SLPS, and it says, "Success is never an accident. It's always the result of high intention, sincere effort, and intelligent direction." And as I sit here, I am just excited to know that there's a plan and that we're working this plan, and we're doing it as a collective body, right? It takes all of us, and we're just excited. I'm excited to be a part of it. So with that being said, we'd like to give a high-level overview, and this is my colleague, Miss Amy Miller, who's no stranger in this space. She will assist me today, but we'd like to just give a high-level overview on where we're at and where we're heading. Most of the content that is before you is same information, but just updating as we track and as we report the work. So as we turn, we're going to talk about the funding sources, give a projection on schedule and timeline, discuss the active projects, and then those projects that are up and coming. If you can move, oh, I got the clicker. I got the power. There we go. So that is the agenda items, these four today. And this is that pyramid that we've shown. Our focus is primarily on Proposition S, but Navigate is working with the district in other avenues as well, which are incorporated into the capital projects or the GOB, as well as ESSER 2 and ESSER 3. This projected schedule, as we've shown before, again, just highlights all of the activities. If I may, just to refresh everyone's memory, the timeline is shown from summer of 2023 of last year all the way to spring of 2027. All the activities and work tasks are identified on the left-hand side and color-coded under each funding source, green being ESSER, yellow being GOB, and then the orange/light red is Proposition S. And the column that is highlighted in red is where we stand to date. We are touching primarily all of the activities, and we'll give a update here in a second because some of these activities will be completed here shortly. And just to reiterate, if you see spaces between the arrows, that is intentional, as certain work can only happen during certain seasons. Primarily, any outdoor activities can only really be handled primarily during weather that is suitable, like asphalt and so on and so forth. So this is very high level in terms of the work. That being said, if we take the activities that are highlighted in that schedule, we are showing what's completed for each activity, which schools have been completed, open or closed, what is in progress, and then also what is upcoming. And so for fencing, as you can see, if you draw your attention to the bottom of the page, there's 4 upcoming schools that are slated to be completed by the end of this month. We've already started our punch walk. Punch walk is synonymous with construction in terms of being substantially complete enough where Navigate, SLPS, project managers, as well as the respective contractors, we all walk each facility, and anything that is loose, anything that is not to the liking of the district, we make sure we memorialize that in what we call a punch list, and we make sure we track those items, those loose ends, so that we can give best value to the district. And that is the common theme for each of the work activities demonstrated on that projected schedule. And then there again, as we've shown, our dashboard, it identifies scope, schedule, and budget. This is the schedule. We started back in July of 23 with fencing being one of the most visible, high-profile projects for the district. We were substantially complete as of last month, and we should be finally complete by the end of this month. So that's a high-level overview of the schedule. Financially, we are still within bounds from our contract amount, including the 10% contingency that was approved by the board. And then we've, as Chief Alancy said in some of our meetings, let's not be reactive, let's be proactive and include some of those contingencies and, you know, plan for things to go wrong, plan for things to go awry. How do we approach them? And we've done just that in the calculated risk that we have shown. So we worked through all of that, and we are on budget, on schedule. And again, this is going to be the common thing as I go through this. I won't go through it in detail unless there's any questions as we push through this presentation for each of the work activities. And again, these are just some pictures of the fencing before and after. A school that is open and a school that is decommissioned. Next on the list is drinking fountains. We've made our way through the north facilities or central facilities, and now we're in the southern facilities or any school locations south of Highway 40. This is the scope, schedule, and budget dashboard. We are on track and on budget and working through those calculated risks I mentioned. And here are some pictures of some of the school locations: Compton, Drew Adams, and Mallinckrodt. Flooring, we decided with Chief Watson and his team to take advantage of any opportunities that we can, one of which, when we looked at flooring repairs, when the scholars were out for winter break, when they were out for spring break, we were active in rolling up our sleeves and getting with our flooring contractor to take advantage of those downtimes while students and staff were out. So some of the work were peppered throughout those breaks, and now the balance of the work for flooring repairs will take place during the summer. And if everything works out and the stars are aligned, we shall complete this on time and on budget as well. And that is indicative of our dashboard, which is shown in the presentation before you. And here are some before and after photos. Next on the list is painting. You say, man, there's a lot remaining, but we are tracking accordingly, some of which was already direct contract with the district, others of which were identified within the general contractors. So there's a couple of different ways that we attack painting, but all of it nonetheless will be, the balance, if not all, will be completed by the end of the summer. Again, this is the dashboard for the painting. And here are some candid shots. Moving right along the playgrounds, we're currently in punch list mode, as you see in the in progress part of the slide here and the graphics. Upcoming is just musical instruments. The lion's share of the buildings and playgrounds have been done, and we're just working with some musical instruments as a change order to the contract, which again is in bounds for the playgrounds. And here is that dashboard that identifies just that. Not mentioned playgrounds, but not only have we brought some oversight to management of the playgrounds, but 80-plus benches district-wide were removed and replaced as well. So here's a few candid shots of those. As we move to our kitchen upgrades, Nottingham and Clyde C. Miller have been completed. Soldan is looking to be completed next month. Ford Hotel Supply, which is the contractor, and their lower tier subs with Camerlin, they decided not to wait. They ordered all of the equipment ahead of schedule, and as a result, we will be completed ahead of schedule in enough time for food service to do their thing. So here's the dashboard that memorializes that work in scope, schedule, and budget. Here are a few candid shots. Soldan Kitchen. Here's the removal of all of the existing equipment that was done by Ford. The most of it was done in May. Some of it bled over to last week. But 90% of the equipment is in place as we speak, if you go over there today. So Dr. Carter and her team are tickled pink. And then as we move to the tail end of our presentation, our upcoming projects, Interface Construction, they are the general contractor that is earmarked for the North facilities. You see the activities identified there. A. Eilers is the general contractor that we hired, the district hired, and that we're managing for the South facilities as well as the high school renovations, CVPA, CS&B, and Gateway STEM. Restroom renovations in general, Package A, Package B, is done by Bex and Hankins respectively. And then roofing and tuck pointing. I do have a handout. I'm going to have Miss Amy, if she will, to assist me. Yeah, thank you. And this handout that we want to show, Garland and Trimco were hired by the district here in the recent past to tackle some list of schools that were prioritized by the district. I believe there's about 14 that are identified. Thank you. I realize I handed it all out. There's about 14 that are identified, and under the direction of St. Louis Public Schools leaders, we met with Garland. We interviewed Garland and Trimco, and as they all reviewed the work with St. Louis Public Schools project managers, the lion's share of the work went to Garland, and one school, technically two, one was already earmarked for Trimco from a maintenance standpoint. Two schools were given to Trimco, the remaining were given to Garland, and it yielded approximately a $3 million savings. So this is the matrix that we work from. There's more schools that have yet to be let by the district yet, but we plan to do the same process as we've done before. So needless to say that Navigate is truly looking out for the district's best interests and listening to SLPS leaders. Following up with the list, HVAC upgrades or Amoresco and Train. We're working hand in hand in tandem with them. And then for the next fiscal year, we're looking at auditoriums, district-wide signage, and some more renovations at CVPA, which includes, not limited to, the window replacements, which I believe could be on the consent agenda on tomorrow. What's that? Who wants to see that picture? No, I'm kidding. The picture that Amy is referencing, this was Navigate's summer readiness meeting. We had standing room only. I'm going to say about 50 contractors. We had SLPS facilities teams, which includes but not limited to the warehouse team, the maintenance teams, the custodial teams. And we went through the district-wide schedule for all of the work and went school by school to coordinate, when does the custodians need to get on the second floor of Ashland? When does the warehouse team need to move the furniture back in the cafeteria at Roosevelt, and so on and so forth. And we took 3 hours. I think the meeting lasted about 3 hours and 3.5 hours. And everybody stayed, everybody was committed, everybody chimed in. And again, it goes back to how I started this presentation about planning the work and working the plan. If we don't have a plan, we don't have a schedule, we have no plan. And so we coordinated that and led that effort. So it was very worthwhile, and we're reaping the benefits of that to this day. Any questions?
Yes, I have a question. Thank you for the presentation. So you mentioned the funding sources, and being in finance, I have some, I guess, questions about the ESSER contingency. I guess specifically, as we are closing out the year and ESSER is coming to a close, we certainly need our time frame in order to close out all the ESSER business. So I guess my question is, how and when will you identify the ESSER contingency, and is there any plan to use that contingency for something else as we're trying to really determine remaining funds, because we want to expend all those funds?
No, great question, Chief Banks. We're actually working with Chief Watson and Dr. Lemons in that regard to get our arms around ESSER, and not only ESSER, but to talk in detail about Proposition S as well. I'm hopeful after talking with Chief Watson and Dr. Lemons, we'll have an answer sooner rather than later, as we are aware that the district is working feverishly to close out fiscal year 23-24 and then begin the auditing process. So we plan, hopefully, if all goes well, sometime this month to be able to kind of earmark where things are and where things need to be.
Okay, thank you for that. And I guess to a greater degree with the, I believe it was the flooring, that there's only a 10% bill rate and the plan to have completion by the end of the summer. I guess I have that same question or concern. So.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And this presentation, this was our May presentation dashboard. So some things have happened since we put together this presentation, one of which is flooring. They've built all of their stored materials. We've inventoried them, and we're working currently as we speak. Those flooring repairs will be completed by the end of this summer, before the scholars come back.
And again, when you say end of summer, and we're talking ESSER.
I'm with you.
Okay, all right.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question about fencing, a few questions. So when I first got here, that was one of the first acts that I did, was be at that groundbreaking for the fencing. And that fencing was to mitigate the lead. So I see the fencing projects have evolved to involve closed schools. And I got a chance to drive by, I can't remember which school that was today. I drove by a school today and was able to see, what the fencing looked like. It was something I was curious about, what the replaced fencing. So the fencing around the closed buildings, was that part of the original plan? Is that something that evolved over time? And then the other thing about the fencing, when I'm looking at the pictures of Walnut Park compared to Herzog, where Walnut Park doesn't have upper cross bars, doesn't have upper cross, bars, and then I don't know what is, like, are they just on feet? It may not be drilled into the ground. So I want to understand what the quality criteria is for the fencing around the closed buildings. So I asked that question, and then I have some more comment.
No, absolutely, Dr. Scarlett. Great question. The fencing as a whole predates Navigate. We inherited that contract, and when we reviewed it, we noticed that there was a difference between the materials for the decommissioned properties versus your open schools. And so the temporary fencing is what we call it at the closed schools, which is not to remain but to be removed pending what the district wants to do with assets. It is just to deter vandals and transients. It is not to be permanent. That's why you don't see the crossbars or the intermediate bars. We are working with the fencing contractor. We started the punch walk last week because there were some things that we saw as Navigate, even though it's temporary, it needs to look presentable. It's a new fence. So we are cutting on posts that are extended past the wiring. We are making sure posts are sturdy, things of that nature. But that is a different system in your decommissioned properties as opposed to the black vinyl chain link permanent fencing, perimeter fencing at the open schools.
So one of the concerns that's come up about the temporary fencing is if it doesn't have a crossbar at the bottom, then people can just lift it up and crawl up under it. So that's something that, if we don't have the reinforcements, at least even at the bottom on that. So that's something that's come up. And then there was also some questions that came from community around why don't we have no trespassing signs on the outside of the fencing? Is there a plan for the no trespassing signs?
And that's one thing that we have on our punch list as we walk with St. Louis Public Schools project managers. Again, all of our activities, we Navigate can only consult and inform. We cannot approve. We cannot. We only recommend. And so with that, we always take some component of SOPS to make sure that we identify the work, but someone from SOPS is making final decisions, is the decision maker. And one of which you identified, Dr. Scarlett, those no trespassing signs are on our list because that was the point of the fencing in any rate, to make sure that the district has the autonomy to prosecute, with the fence and the signage being in place.
And I know signage is something that is on the list to happen around other aspects. Is this part of that? Because I don't see it like on the list of, of things here on the list. Is it part of fencing funding, the signage that would need to go on that?
No, ma'am. There's two different signage. The signage you just referenced is temporary signage for the temporary fencing. But the signage that you identified within the presentation, that is the wayfinding signage, the permanent signage that's going to take place district-wide. That is two separate deals.
Okay, so is the budget for the signage for the temporary fencing on the decommissioned or vacant buildings part of the budget for fencing? Is that part of the fencing budget? That's what I'm trying to understand.
Yeah, there's enough funds within the fencing budget to accommodate the no trespassing signage.
And I have one more question. I know I got a lot of questions. My last
okay.
question is, given the timeline of the lead fence remediation and then what's happened simultaneously with the other fencing, the temporary fencing, are we using the same people to put up the temporary fencing as the permanent fencing that we're putting up?
Yes.
Okay. And do you think that that's caused us, has that sacrificed our timeline on getting the permanent fencing, the lead remediation fencing, because the contractors are doing the decommissioned buildings also?
There was one contract that was let to CMT, who was the contractor of record, but CMT subdivided the work to two lower tier contractors. So there was one that focused on the closed schools, and there was another that focused on the open schools. Yeah, great question. Yes, ma'am. Secretary Jones.
Hi. Presentation is great. My question was also about the fencing. So once I know that this was considered an asset of SLPS, all the fences are, and if a building is sold or what have you, then does Navigate or your vendors, do they come back and take care of that fencing and bring it back into SLPS's stock, or how does that work?
Well, once the contractor's completed, that fencing is now owned by the district. And the district has the autonomy to have the in-house facilities teams, they're more than capable of rolling back that fence and repurposing the fence. Or the district can so choose to hire, the contractor or whomever to do it as well. You can sub that work out. So you have the flexibility once the work is being completed.
I was looking at the pictures of the kitchens, and they look really great. So once you replace that type of equipment, I know some of the equipment is still functional. Uh, Does the district reap the benefit of the resale or recycling of those pieces of equipment, or how does that work? Or is it the vendor's responsibility?
I don't have that information in front of me, but anything removed, the district has first right of refusal on anything we remove, whether it's fencing, whether it's the food service equipment. We have worked with Chief Watson and his team, so I believe those things were identified as salvageable and were probably moved and repurposed. But I can give you a better answer about the kitchen upgrades that we have done to see if something was done. But we at Navigate, that's one of the things that we watch for, is to make sure that you as the client is serviced the way you should be, and that's one of the things that's included in that.
Right, I guess I'm asking because I just think that if it is salvageable, then the district should have some type of benefit from that as well. So, thank
Yeah.
you.
Absolutely. President Cousins?
My apologies for my tardiness, and I'm not quite sure if I missed this or if this question was asked. So let me ask this. On the fencing, I want to make sure I understood this. Are you telling me that our closed schools, we have replaced the fencing that had lead? Is that safe to say?
No, ma'am.
You didn't say that.
No.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure because I was going
Yes,
to
ma'am.
not be happy at all about that. Okay. So what I'm looking at from this PowerPoint presentation is we still have Betty Wheeler, Oak Hill, Mann, Shenandoah, Siegel, and Frable are the schools that are still in progress to get the completed lead fencing done.
Actually, as I mentioned probably before you walked in, this presentation you're looking at is our May presentation.
Okay.
Some things have transpired since then,
Mm.
one of which is all the removal of the lead fencing is 100% completed.
Okay.
So at all of those schools, we are
We
now,
just still have the orange temporary.
yes, ma'am.
Okay.
We are now working with the district to remove the snow fencing and get the wiring, the permanent wiring on the fencing installed.
Okay. So, and the other thing is, I know the other fencing that we have, and I can't never call it right, but we still have signage on there that this has lead paint on it, and it doesn't. I've asked, I know since last year, and I don't think that's on you all, but
Correct.
can we please remove that, because I think that gives a false narrative to the community, because I often ride and see Shenandoah and that signage is still there, and I don't want the people to be confused.
Yes, ma'am. We will make a call subsequent to this committee meeting to make sure that happens.
And I know that, and I've heard the things that Dr. Scarlett is asking, and I'm seeing even the picture that you all have, and even looking at the picture on these temporary fences on our vacant buildings, the before and after. Even when you look at this fencing, there is nothing to indicate no trespassing at all. And the purpose of that, my assumption was to add no trespassing signs going around on the fencing. And I think that is to protect the district as well, to have the no trespassing signs, because the people need to understand if they go in, that gives the district cause to press charges, for you trespassing on the property of the board.
Yes. Yeah, and we're well aware of that. The contractor has been to that point. The contractor has went back and refixed those things because we haven't 100% turn those buildings over to the district, but it is on our punch list, the list that we keep to, fix odds and ends and loose ends. The signage is on our punch list to make sure that that happens.
Okay, so I think this is where clarity is needed. I think this is out of your scope of work. Is that safe to say?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. But I think we need to make sure we're clear on that. I think Navigate is taking on this, and this is really not within your scope of work.
It's not, but we were making sure that the I's are being dotted and T's are crossed. So we're working with the district. But you're right. Is it our direct responsibility? No.
Okay,
But because we're still working with the district and the contractors, we're making sure it happens.
okay. Now, let's move on. I'm sorry, you went over your whole presentation?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So I want to go deeper into I want to add what Secretary Jones was saying, and that is a very good question, because once I see you had Baden on here, and Baden was one of the schools that we put the temporary fencing, around the building. And this is probably Chief Watson's question. It's probably not your question. But now that Baden was sold, what is happening with that temporary fencing? Because that is not theirs. Like, that is the property of the district. That temporary fencing could be utilized for, another space, another facility or something else. So have we now taken that temporary fencing down and put it in storage or put it to other use? I think that was the question you were asking, Secretary Jones.
My apologies.
No, you're fine.
Yeah, my understanding is yes. I'll reconfirm that.
Yeah, now don't say yes, because Secretary Jones live over there.
I
and
know.
she
I
will
know.
ride.
Yeah.
I just
Understood.
want to be clear.
Understood.
We do ride the neighborhoods. And I think my last question is, I wanted to go to the painting. How are we identifying the schools when it comes to painting? I know it's a uphill battle. I know we had the master planning and things of that nature done, and you probably wouldn't really know the answer to this question, but I'm just curious, especially going into some of the high schools, coming from graduations, seeing the different things, but how are we able to kind of identify, or how is the rotation of our schools when it comes to painting? Do we know?
Yes, ma'am. It's twofold. In both instances, we are working with the facilities teams and the St. Louis Public Schools project managers. We don't decide which buildings. We are told, we're given a list of which buildings, and once we receive that list, we then walk the buildings with respective SLPS representatives and the contractors to make sure it works. On one hand, there was direct contract with the district with 3 contractors, and then the remaining and balance of the painting was divvied up between Interface and A. Eilers, which are 2 of the general contractors for the North and South, respectively.
And then I see you have on here for Prop S, the next Prop S meeting. I think I would ask, as a member of the real estate committee, if there is any way that board members could be invited to some of the Prop S projects that we have identified, that the board has identified, to come and kind of do tours to see before what they look like now, and then we'll be able to come back and do afters to see what completion has been done prior to school starting, if that's possible.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's all I have. Thank you.
If there's no other questions, we'll turn it back over to Chief Watson.
Thank you, Mr. Jaquez, Navigate team. And while the roofing information and data that Navigate passed out, which will also be displayed on the screen, did want to touch on a few other in regards to the no trespassing in particular. And this was just information that I received from the facilities team, that there have been some schools that they're actually putting the no trespassing signs. Some of them have been removed from the sites, and from what I just received a text message that the signages on back order. Chief Banks, I know you asked a question around the lead fence, I mean, the drinking fountains, and making use of those contingency dollars. Uh, we were, uh, we've actually tested all of our water sources. So some of those repairs in terms of the water sources will be utilized through some of those contingency funds. But once we get a better idea of what needs to be replaced, um, um, again, we'll follow up with the finance department to give you that information around those contingency dollars. Um, what's displayed here is what, just for the listening audience and for the public, is just some of the information that was shared by Navigate, um, including this is the roofing bid summary that we all received. So you can see the bids for both the two vendors that we have in play. That's Trimco and Garland Roofing. So you see the highlighted areas of where the highlighted areas basically represents the firm, the company that will likely receive that proposal. And then on the next slide, it kind of details the vendor, where you see the Malanphy and Trimco and the proposal amount, as well as the other vendor, Garland Roofing, and the other projects in schools with a total amount of $11 million that we're looking to conduct this summer prior to the start of school. And then this last slide just kind of gives, and this is kind of going out of order on our agenda, some board up data. So, and it's small, so what you more or less see in terms of the board up information is just a real high level cost estimate of what it'll cost for all of our closed facilities. So on average, if we were to use plywood for the facilities that we actually have listed, and we actually have approximately 24 properties, it's an amount of, in the tune of $250,000. And these board ups are simply just on the first floor, and it also addresses some of the window well areas. This information is not in the packet, but it will be provided to you all. In the second column, it lists for like metal corrugated board ups, and that's in the tune of almost $600,000. And that's because of the welding and just being very specific in terms of the dimensions and cutting out those spaces. So in essence, the board ups for using plywood is almost is half the amount of using metal. The concern with using metal or any type of material is just for the fire marshal. Hopefully nothing should happen to our facilities, but from the fire marshal perspective, there are just concerns that if we weld certain doors or certain areas within the buildings, and that's where we've actually been in collaboration with the fire department so that they are aware of what areas in the building that may be somewhat shut due to particularly like consistent vandalism. Northwest is a good example where on the back end, where it's away from the street, away from where the public oftentimes see the property, that's where we tend to get a lot of our vandalism or entrances, or they go into some of the entrances, doors and windows, and the list goes on with just how buildings are assessed or accessed due to vandalism. So this just kind of gives you an idea, just an estimate. Navigate is working to really fine tune those numbers. We actually had a team to go out and count all of the openings, and Navigate is working to really kind of fine tune the labor, material, and equipment costs so that we can provide that to the real estate committee with a more precise number on the board ups. But this gives you a real high estimate in terms of the difference between the two types of materials. Questions?
So from them assessing, how many do we have, how many of our buildings, unoccupied buildings, do we have that are currently secured? Do we know?
So the buildings that was recently closed, which I won't name them, but I'll just kind of.
Just like a ballpark figure, how, from them going out, how many do we know that have not been broken broken into, that are still, boarded up at this point?
I would say 5 out of the 24.
5 out of the 24. And so we're really looking at about 20 or 19 that really need to be
Yes.
secured. And you all are in the process of basically going with the fire marshals to kind of assess which ones you may have to use steel or whatever, as opposed to, plywood to board up.
And they've been real supportive in this space because they understand what we're up against, and where we're working with them and the police department. All first responders is providing them maps and somewhat designated entries that they know that they can assess. But they've been real supportive in this space. That's really been a good partnership in terms of boarding up and working with those first responders.
So do you know about when the real estate committee could get like a little bit more detail from you all doing that, so we'll be able to make a final determination to say, okay, based on this, like, this is what the overall cost would be, and this would be the best strategy to bring back to the board?
We can provide an update for the July real estate committee meeting, because again, we're in talks with the fire department,
okay.
and they likely could probably come and do a presentation.
Okay. Because I think that's one of our biggest issues. Like we said, we constantly are finding that the buildings are being broken into, vandalized, to the point where it's costing us even more money when it comes to trying to do the repairs. Only so much will the insurance cover things of that magnitude. I know one of our schools, the pipes were stolen, and we had, water running everywhere. And so, I mean, the electrical wiring. So a lot of this is really costing the district and the taxpayer. So we are trying to come up with a plan of action, and I think this is one of the steps to trying to ensure that we're securing the buildings the best we can.
Yeah, this would definitely be one of the first step of many to come, as we really revisit our closed facilities throughout the city. And to your point, President Cousins, the damage that is generally done from water and just from the vandalism alone is a real cost burden to the district to maintain, and definitely to go out and make those repairs. And I'll try to see and try to get some data regarding what we've done in the past to either make repairs to some of those instances where we've actually had vandalism, and what the board up costs and some of the damages, which I could probably use a few schools to make the picture or paint the picture in regards to the cost that it takes to do the vandalism. Any other questions regarding either the board ups, any of the roofing projects that are slated, and or the information provided by Navigate?
Yes, I had a question about the board up. I think my concern was when you are putting together this data for the board up, is it possible that you identify to us a list of buildings that are beyond board up due to vandalism, water damage, just gone, just about hanging on this last straw?
Yes.
Because, I mean, we had that report that talked about the old buildings and what have you, and we really don't want buildings standing that are a hazard to the community.
Understood. And we can provide that information in terms of the condition of each of our closed facilities.
All right. And so when you talked about the roofing as well, I know there's been a conversation about solar.
Yes.
So I realized that the federal government, released some new monies for alternative energy. Are we doing anything with that in this project?
So the short end of the answer is yes. With some of our performance management contractors, we're looking into solar. And part of the first steps in us investigating and potentially installing solar is to make sure that our roofs are newer. I know the development department, I believe with Ms. Kane, Erin Kane, is actually also pursuing grant opportunities for us to become more energy efficient through the use of solar. So we are actively pursuing solar in all aspects of not only roofing, um, but even some of our lighting, exterior lighting.
I'm noticing that there's been a lot of conversation about wind power as well. We have so much acreage and so much, space. Would that ever be considered as well? That's the last question.
Also a consideration, and I'll try to get some more information around wind power, but I definitely know that solar energy has been one of the, just initially, that's one of the areas that we're pursuing. Wind power is also another area, but I'll get some more information to provide to the committee. Any other questions? So moving next into the agenda, I think as President Cousins mentioned, is that we're having a Prop S Oversight Committee that'll be in person this Thursday, June 13th at Yateman Middle. To the point of what you stated, President Cousins, that it's oftentimes good to see not only what the before looks like, but while things are actually in progress, and then, of course, after everything is completed. Yateman in particular has a lot of projects going on in the facility that you will see. There's roofing, although we won't be on the roof, but you'll at least be able to see the setup for roofing. Stair treads will be installed, whiteboards are being installed, painting, restrooms, and some of our HVAC equipment is also being updated. And in addition to these projects, we're working with Navigate on signage. So a lot of our schools that particularly have a lot of restroom renovations will have some signage outside of the facilities just to indicate to the public of your tax dollars at work. And lastly, when it comes to signage, we're also utilizing some of our partners, particularly in our high visible facilities, to promote again tax dollars at work in regards to some of the projects that are taking place at those locations. The other item, well, it's not the last item on the agenda, but under the community collaboration, within our tab on section 2, there's a letter from the Great Rivers Greenway request, and and I'll give you an opportunity to review the letter, but the letter is in essence asking for support for the Greenway on the Hodemont Tracks Active Transportation Infrastructure Investment Program, the acronym ATIIP. They're looking in pursuing a grant for the Greenway on the Hodemont Tracks to receive an old streetcar line that spans 3.5 miles that intersects 7 neighborhoods and 3 city wards. This Greenway will provide a critical east to west link through the city with infrastructure improvements and connections to 2 other greenways, which are St. Vincent Greenway and Brickline Greenway. So this letter is more or less a letter of support for this endeavor, and I'll give you opportunity to read the letter and open up any questions. And I'll make a motion to approve the support letter for the Great Rivers Greenway project on the Hodemont Tracks.
Second. Any discussion?
So is this to go over part of our properties? Is that where the request is coming? I guess I'm just not understanding.
I think, Ms. Banks, from what I read, part of the whole transportation revamping and things that's needed, that part of what Great Rivers Greenway is going to need is letters of support from various governmental entities, and probably with us being St. Louis Public Schools, we will be one of the entities that they're asking for a letter of support. This kind of goes in conjunction with the conversations that we're having in regards to our transportation challenges as well. And I think the city as a whole trying to revamp transportation and open up certain layers of transportation. So I think this is probably what they're asking for. It looks like they're trying to do a grant. That's what I got out of it.
Thank you.
I have a question about the streetcar line. So they're going to bring an old streetcar line back to the Hodemont tracks?
Again, Secretary Jones, I mean, I saw it just like you guys, but from my reading, I think that's what they're trying to do is reopen and create like another passageway, reopen a transportation way on the Hodemont tracks. A trail. I think they're trying to bring back a trail.
With a train track?
Probably just a usable trail. Yeah, they're just trying to, you know how they did like the walking trails or what have you? They're just trying to create more of a walkable trail within that way.
Right.
Probably like a bike trail. I don't think it'll be a street cars. I think that we kind of pushed it to think it'll be a street cars on Hodemont. I hope you ain't record that.
I just wanted to say, it reminds me of Atlanta has this belt line that they've built in areas that were really crime infested, and as safe places to walk in, to transport yourself. And so I'm just looking at the web page, with the PDF here. It would have been nice if they had included it in this, just to give us an idea, but I'm looking at it here, and it also mentioned that it would connect to 2 other greenways. Yeah, and that the original space was about 8 miles of a loop for a greenway, and this is in a big section. This 3.5-mile part of it is part of that. So the original plans was around 8 miles. So this last section, I guess, they're hoping to make some connections to the St. Vincent and Brickline greenways.
Any other discussion? Take a vote. Ms. Henry?
Mrs. Banks?
Yes.
Mr. Watson?
Yes.
Dr. Scarlett? Yes. Ms. Jones? Ms. Jones?
Mm-hmm.
Mrs. Cousins?
Yes.
Motion passed.
Next under our agenda, we have property acquisition, in which we've already discussed the board of data. And the other item on the agenda is for Marshall School. And currently, we have provided this information over to SLDC or LCRA. It is in the possession of their legal, and they have not provided us an update at this point in time. So at our next real estate committee meeting, we will provide an update once we get more information from their attorneys. And this actually concludes our open session for today. And I will move that we adjourn to go into closed session.